Happy Christmas in July. Yay!
Yay! Ho, ho, ho.
Today we have the gift of information from Rob Moore. He is your advocacy chair. Rob, how long have you been the advocacy chair for the board of directors in IAACE?
I'm kind of thinking it's been since I was no longer president, and I think that was like 4 years ago, maybe probably 4 years.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
That sounds about
Yeah.
right. And just signed on for another year term, or
Yeah.
2-year term, actually, because you got elected for another 2-year term. So 2 years left in that advocacy term as well,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I think so. Then I might be ineligible to run for board again. I'm not sure. I think that's how it is.
Yeah, I think you are ineligible to run, but that doesn't mean you couldn't be advocacy chair. I mean, there's no rules, so that person has to be on the board.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm just saying.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
No talk.
We're just making a little small talk as we have people all joining in, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Rob. Take it away.
Okay. Yes, today's meeting is about the advocacy efforts for the Indiana Association for Adult and Continuing Education on behalf of its members and students who participate in local programs. The purpose of our advocacy committee is to kind of twofold. One, we try to educate our local programs with some ideas of how they might educate their community leaders and decision makers about adult education so they become invested in it, knowledgeable and invested. And secondly, during the General Assembly, we track bills that are being proposed and follow them through the legislative process, especially those that have something to do with adult education and workforce development. And we garner and try to garner responses from our members if there's something that would affect us and our students negatively. And that's been very helpful in some past sessions. Members, there are some of our IAACE Board of Directors who are also members of the Advocacy Committee, and there are some members of our committee who do not serve on the Board of Directors. So it is open to all of our members. Presently, we have Christy McIntyre, Gloria Combs, Jennifer Wigington, John Schlatter. We have Connie McCollum, Laura Pastore, Lisa Cruey, and myself serving on the Advocacy Committee. We also have, besides those assets, we have a couple other assets that are very important to us in our work with advocacy. One is we have for several years now contracted with a lobbyist. The firm we contract with is Barnes and Thornburg in Indianapolis. Our lobbyist is Joe Loftus. He has probably about 40 or so years in government representation services for the firm. Very, very effective and respected lobbyist among the legislators from both sides of the aisle. If you mention the name of Joe Loftus, the response is always positive from our legislators because he's a very, very straight shooter. He represents a lot of interests, particularly with education, and one of them is adult education. So we're very, very fortunate to have him because our lobbyists can get to our legislators in ways that we cannot get to, and just really just buries himself in those legislative processes and can respond a lot more quickly than we can if something happens. Another asset we have is one of our own members is a legislator. Michelle Davis serves and just finished her first term in the House of Representatives, and she represents part of Marion County around her area. So we're very happy that she has served and gave us a really great update after her first year about her experience. And we think she worked in concert with Joe in this last session. So some ideas that our programs should be aware of. Before we get into that, I just kind of set that stage. One thing to remember is that no one else will tell our story unless we start telling the story in our local communities and statewide. So it really has to start in our local programs, educating our communities and garnering the investment of our community leaders and decision makers at the local level and state level. So what are some ideas for doing that? One is something very simple. Many programs are doing this already, but we need to be inviting our community leaders to visit our programs. We'll see it in action, see them or show them classes that are offered virtually through video conference, show them any classes that are meeting online, I'm sorry, in person and on site. So it let them meet our students and our teachers so that they get an idea of what's really happening on a day-by-day basis and what we're trying to accomplish. A second idea that many programs do, and it's related to the first, is invite them to events, not just the day-to-day activities, but to graduations, award ceremonies, events like that, where you are showcasing your program and invite them to participate. So you might have your superintendent of schools there to distribute diplomas and certificates. Same thing with legislators. They can give us a keynote speech or a little welcome. Get them involved in events. That is way that they can become invested. The thing about legislators is you have to tell them things, not just once, but time and time and time and time again. I guess they say that it takes the brain 7 times to remember something. Well, think of a legislator with all these groups that are doing these things with them. You're trying to educate them about 70 times 7 times before they will becomes very, very memorable. So as many of those events, any of those visits you can organize is great. There's nothing more powerful to a legislator than a one-on-one sit down, come to Jesus meeting with a constituent. So organize that, get that together and sit down with them and go over adult education and what you're trying to accomplish. And then visit again, invite them to a ceremony or another event, and do that constantly, because when the General Assembly convenes in January, it's too late to educate our legislators. It's just too late. We have to do this in the off season, like right now. Thirdly, I'd highly recommend the use of social media to showcase the program to your community. So for example, at our Facebook page, Monroe County Schools Adult Education Broadview Learning Center, we try now and then to not only put some pictures on there of what's happening day to day, we put announcements of things that are coming up, but also probably most effectively, I think, we put pictures of our students as they pick up their high school equivalency diplomas. So one thing you might do is you might organize with Megan Hibbard, have her organized with Diploma Center, have your diplomas sent to your program, not mailed out to the students. If they're sent to your program, they're probably less likely to, for one thing, to be lost in the mail. And secondly, you can use them for some media like this. So when the diplomas come in, you call them or email them, they come in, have your camera ready, take their picture, put a little blurb on Facebook with their picture, who they are, how long they were in your program, what they did, what they plan to do in the future. And you can, I don't know, Jen, what the term tag or hashtag your legislator. So the legislator will see it if they're checking their Facebook pages and their Twitter feeds and things like that. So tagging your legislator, your major community decision makers, is important. And now and then we do get response on our Facebook page from at least a word of congratulations. So they're aware that we're having success, what our students are doing. A fourth idea I'd suggest is for many programs to have some sort of advisory council. If you have a governing board, remember the difference between a board and a committee or council. A board is decision-making. They are governing. So in our program, we have a school board that governs us. But if you're active in your regional consortium, which you should be, that's good. If your local program can form an advisory council where you can kind of pick and choose your own advocates and potential advocates to be members of your advisory council, to be your ear to the community, to make it a platform where they can share ideas with you about what's needed, and you can share news about what's happening in your program. When we are all under Department of Education, we are all required to have advisory councils. Now we've gone to more of the consortium model, but if you wish to add an advisory council, that would be a reasonable thing to do. Something that we're working on, some things that we're working on for advocacy that we can all help with is we need to take something to the legislature, I think, this time that would be a good idea. Right now, our General Assembly and the legislators that are members thereof are really hooked on new ideas, particularly in adult education, workforce development. So that's why, for example, we've had in the last several years Excel centers, we've had Graduation Alliance come on board, we've had other changes to the workforce development system. if we're going to stay relevant to legislators, we need to come up with a good idea to them, something new, something innovative that they can latch onto and say that they have introduced legislation that's innovative, and maybe they've authored and co-authored it. One thing we've done recently, last 2 sessions ago, was we introduced a high school partnership pilot project where we, in a couple pilot programs around Indianapolis, the adult education program could partner with the high school, their local high school, and if there are any seniors who are credit deficient and not ready to graduate, the partnership is that they can stay enrolled in their high school for a time, but study for the high school equivalency, not as an enrolled student because they've not separated from high school, but they can at least study for the high school equivalency, earn an industry recognized certification. And then when they do those things, they would be removed from the graduation cohort of the high school. So that was a good thing. That was new and innovative. We got Senator Rotz from Richmond to introduce that legislation. He's head of education committee in the Senate, and Joe helped shepherd that through with us. So it's only a couple school systems and their adult education programs that are doing that because that's what the law restricted it to. This session coming up would be probably an opportunity to go ahead and expand that pilot project. So if your local program is part of a school system, or maybe even not part of a school system, who knows? If you're interested in partnering with your local high school in that, please let me know, because that would be a good idea that we could expand on. But if there's another completely new idea that our members have for serving adults and job seekers in a new way, please let us know, because we're looking for good ideas. Polly?
Yeah, we tried to get through the legislature last year to be added to that program,
Mm-hmm.
and they just got too busy to bring it up.
Yeah.
So we'll be applying again this year to try to get added to that program with our career center, because
Yes.
they'll have the credential with their career center credentials.
Yes, I think that would be timely. This last session probably wasn't timely for anything new or innovative, because the new innovative thing they were dealing with was coronavirus. So now, and so that's why this legislature, even though it was a budget session, usually that's when you get a lot of changes. It was really almost uneventful.
I feel like at least they saw our name, they saw that we wanted to do it. So this year, by the way, new and innovative, could we have childcare and transportation? That would be new and innovative for adult ed and would solve a lot of problems for some of our students.
Yeah, I think that brings up a good point. You know, we need to make it about asking, obviously that would take money. Okay, so let me kind of hook this onto your excellent suggestion. A lot of times, I think some of our members look to us to go to the legislature and ask for more money. We were cut, as many of us would recall, some money from our state allocation as kind of a clawback for, for a lot of benefits that were paid for unemployed workers. Not all adult education type programs were, but we were. Okay, with Michelle and Joe, we came that close to having funding restored to us. That close. We almost got it, but we just couldn't get that across the finish line. The House Chair of Ways and Means got ill, and he was agreeable, but he got ill, had to delegate that task to someone else, and it just didn't get done. So the thing is, when we go to ask for money, there's a couple things. Number one, we have to make sure, and our board has heard me say this, we have to make sure that our programs have spent the money that they have. Okay, we've had programs very recently, a couple, I would say more than a couple, have turned back a substantial amount of state funds. Okay, I mean a substantial amount. And we have spending authority of state funds from July 1st to June 30th. If what you don't have spent on June 30th goes back to the general fund. Okay, and so I'm talking in the hundreds of thousands of dollars were unspent in adult education funds. Okay, that puts us as an organization in a very, very bad situation to ask for more money, because what an astute legislator would say was, no, reallocate the money that you have. Okay, and how do you argue with that? So programs that are turning back money because for whatever reason, because they think it affects only them and not us. No, that affects all of us when a program does that. So we're going to have, I think, a session IAACE that will deal with kind of state policies and expectations and ideas for budgeting that would eliminate that. So if a program has excess money they're turning back, they might look at how to spend it to help students, like childcare, transportation, TABE. You can always use TABE seats, TABE online, okay? You can always buy those things, all right? So that's one place where in some programs, childcare and transportation can kind of enter in. But a program like Polly's and mine and many of those that are represented have spent their money and still need more. That's point number two. We need to come up with an idea of how to spend more money, okay? And so if we can make a case that we need an increased allocation because, hey, we've got, still have how many hundreds of thousands of Hoosiers without high school diplomas, but we're having a hard time reaching them because they don't have internet access or it's very poor. So they have to come to a class, but they live so far out, they can't have internet or transportation nor childcare. We could reach a lot more with that. That would be an example of how we would make a case to a legislator for more funding. But first, we've got to spend what we have. So they don't come back to us and tell Jerry and Marilyn, just reallocate it. Personally, I am in favor of reallocation because I think that's the fair thing to do, okay? But I think thanks for Polly for a great idea, because that is the basis of a good idea that we could ask for more money on, absolutely.
Well, let me tell you that the IAACE hotels money, I now have new laptops. Because it was like, I need to spend this. Okay. Yes. My staff needs new laptops and yes. More student laptops. That chew up some funds really quick. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So June 30th at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we want a zero balance, zero. Okay. So with some careful planning, some programs could use those for student support services. But if not, yes, I think that is a great way to approach a legislator and say, we need it, because everybody, childcare is right across the board. It's one of their priorities in many circles, many corners of the legislature. And say, hook ourselves to that, say, well, we could provide that for adults who are in our programs. I think would be an idea. In the newspaper would be another idea. If you have a small local paper, you could offer to do a monthly column about adult education and some new happenings in there. Small local newspapers are always looking to fill pages. So that would be an idea that some of our programs may want to take their publisher up on, their editor. And I think they'd probably get a welcoming response. We are planning at a day in the Rotunda. We had thought originally September 16th, kind of the week before Adult Education Family Literacy Week, but thanks to Joe, thanks to Michelle, meeting with our board, we kind of discerned that it'd be better to have it at the beginning of the General Assembly in January, because in September, we thought that our thought was, of course, hooking it to the Adult Education Family Literacy Week, but also in the fall this time, our legislators are coming back to draw the voting districts, but we just don't know when. So we want to be there when the legislators are there. We know they'll be there in January, so that's probably a little safer bet for us. So our committee will be kind of working and with Marilyn and Jerry about reserving the Rotunda and the DWD communications team to have an event. What will this event likely look like? We've talked about having a student essay contest about maybe the topic, what adult education means to me. Invite maybe 3 or 4 legislators to serve as judges of those essays, maybe award something for the student winner out of every consortium, every economic growth region, something like that, to bring people, and again, as a way to engage legislators and educate them. See, that was a great idea one of our committee members came up with. Okay, so kind of stay tuned on that. Same thing with employers. Have part of the event there where maybe our local programs could give a business industry award or nominate one that, okay, when we know at our conference we'll have an award, but maybe take some of those others and we'll award those somehow, those nominees that maybe didn't get the statewide award, but recognize them at a statewide event in the Rotunda. Again, have the legislator present the award. And again, a way to engage our adult educators with our business people and our and our legislators. So kind of things like that is what we're planning. So it's kind of rough right now. Let's see what else. I think that's, oh, another way to advocate would be on that week following September 16th, about the week of September 20th. I think we're looking for Adult Education Family Literacy Week. That's a great way to advertise your program because it's a nationwide thing. So a great platform to let folks know what you're doing to serve adult education workforce development. And finally, I would recommend COABE, the Move Ahead in Adult Education Initiative. If you go to coabe.org, you'll see Move Ahead with Adult Ed campaign. They have hashtags, press releases, examples of success stories, all kinds of media toolkit, basically what it is. And I tell you, in our program, the Move Ahead Adult Ed goes on everything that we send out. Paper-wise, it's on my email signature, just to try to connect our local program with something larger. So it's not just us on an island. We are together. We are locally in whatever fill in the blank Indiana. We are part of something larger. So I would certainly use that. And as many success stories you can get out there in social media and newspapers with Move Ahead in Adult Ed to show them how they're moving ahead with Adult Ed. A great way to showcase your students, recruit new students, educate your community, connect to something larger. I just can't recommend that enough. So at that point, that's kind of what I had kind of in my mind to talk about today, but I'll be happy to answer any questions or have a discussion about any of those things or others that you'd like to talk about. Jen, you're on mute.
There was a couple questions in the chat. Would our grant money be allowed to use for hiring childcare workers instead of sending money back?
Yes, childcare is a allowable expense, and so is transportation. I'll tell you what we do is in our program, when we run low, I use our money, I put some money in transportation and buy city bus tickets.
That's a fabulous idea.
Yeah. So, and I give them to our teachers, and we have a couple of volunteer with social workers that are students at IU finishing up their degree. They kind of help support our teachers and our students, and I give most of them to them because as they're working with students on barriers, well, we can help you with some transportation. So yes, allowable expense.
Do awards at your graduation. Sheila, do you want to? Oh, you said, oh, do awards at your graduation. Is that what you mean? Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
we kind of discussed.
The point on that was to invite your community leaders, your decision makers, your legislators to those types of events and have them present those, whatever types of awards you give. Most outstanding student, most improved kid, or whatever you give, high school equivalency diplomas, certificates of attendance, whatever. If you can have them on stage and have them do the shaking of hands and presentation, I think that's a good thing.
And that's where you do your business awards and your any of those other awards. You could do that at your graduations. That way you get them there and they have a reason for being there.
Well, I shall take a little moment, if you don't mind, to share something with you from the fellowship program while we are waiting on more questions to come in. Let me just share my screen. You all should know Sharon Bonnie from COABE, and if you didn't know, she just moved to Bradenton, Florida. And as you can see, she wrote to the fellows, oops, let me go up further. And it looks like I'll be running this as a blog. She moved to Bradenton, Florida on June 12th. She arranged to meet the mayor. They met, and to her surprise, he did not know about this available funding. So then she followed up with all the resources for him, including the success files with Rob Lowe, the Educate and Elevate, and that video, as well as the stat sheets for Florida, and took a picture with him. So I thought it was a great opportunity for her moving into a new area, but I just wonder how many of us have actually done that for our own area. And isn't it a great example? So I asked her to do it for our blog, and it looks like she said yes. So look for that in the future as a blog for IAACE.
Yes, that's a great idea. And yeah, had this in my notes, but skipped over for some reason. One thing we've done is statewide with our association, Jen is participating in COABE's Advocacy Fellowship. She was selected among many applicants from different states. So we're very fortunate to have Jen kind of collecting this great education for us from the COABE Advocacy Fellowship. So thank you, Jen, for your time in doing that and filling us in.
It is very educational. Sometimes the information is simply overwhelming, how much information they give us. And the articles that I'm behind on are quite a few, but I'm trying to catch up by setting a goal of one a day, because there's a lot. So what questions do you guys have for Rob, or any questions in general, of course? Such a quiet crowd today, Rob.
Yeah.
I guess that's because you were so informative and you answered all the questions that you possibly could have at the very beginning with your little spiel, right?
Yeah.
And if you missed some of that spiel, don't worry, we recorded it. And with Rob's permission, we'll go ahead and release that recording on YouTube so that you can watch it later as well. Just waiting for some questions to come in. Perhaps Mandy has one. Do you want to unmute?
Hi.
Hi.
So I was typing it in. I don't know how I missed that childcare was an approved cost. I know we do transportation cards for our IETs and our IET only. So if we can do transportation and childcare with just our general state funding, is there any special documentation, any criteria? Do they have to be state approved? Is there any kind of, help with determining that we're good stewards of this money?
There's nothing like that I've seen. I would probably, to start something like that, if you have some expertise in your area that can help you set up a reasonable childcare program of some kind, I think that'd be good. I mean, there's all the way from almost just like babysitting all the way up to doing actually pathways to quality.
Yeah.
I would probably land someplace in the middle on that. Your employer may say, okay, they have to do probably a criminal background check and maybe receive some kind of training. Maybe you want to require an associate's degree or certification, or at least some experience in childhood education or child care. Those would be good, but I've not seen any in adult education world, any guidance on what requirements would have to be in place to offer child care to adult basic ed students. I just haven't, either nationally or state. So probably more local decision. If it were our school board, I mean, they probably put in place the way our school board is, and I think rightly so, a lot of the criteria in place, because we want anything associated with our school system to be, top notch and not subject to liability. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I don't want to give Susie's sister an income.
Yeah.
Just because she needs an income.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. And you don't want a situation too where people are dropping off children in your childcare center, your students, and then going to Walmart or something like that. There's probably some rule in place that we offer it free of charge while you are in class.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that, obviously. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to make sure that when I think about this a little bit more and come up with a little plan that I want to address with Connie and our management team,
Yeah.
I think if we kind of follow the CCDF program, which is the Child Care Resource and Referral Program, and if we kind of follow their guidelines, which are top notch, that I didn't want something, or if we didn't, I didn't want later to be smacked on the hand.
Yeah.
For not thinking enough about it.
Yes. Yeah. Childcare in the budget it's under a category called programmed, purchased, and support services. So maybe it's something you could contract out. I mean, as a way.
So smart. That's why you're the man.
I just saw it on there. Thought, well, I got to think of just a second ago. Yeah, you could provide it directly, but maybe you could contract it. So, and that way, let your contractor kind of do that work.
Yeah.
and So.
Well, I'll also take this opportunity to make a little plug for a session that's going to be at conference. Rob is one of the members of the panel discussion that will be led by Jerry Hafner about the main purpose is directors, what questions do you have? What kind of ideas can you gain from each other? And so it'll be a panel discussion of some seasoned directors from across the state, and Jerry will be leading questions like what to do with the extra money come May, and lots of other questions in regards to that. So just a little plug for that session while we are contemplating what is next. If anybody has any questions, feel free to just raise your hands and unmute yourself.
While we're waiting for that, maybe we could mention too, more on COABE and the Adult Family Literacy Week. COABE in the past several years that I can remember, many years, has put out a nice toolkit for that Adult Education Family Literacy Week. So when you get that announcement, I've used them in the past. They're really almost perfectly ready to use. They're really, I would call them perfect. I mean, they were just really good stuff I could use as is. Little social media blitzes. I think one year they had some press releases on several topics, and I think I just released one on Monday, one on Tuesday, one on Wednesday, one on Thursday, one on Friday. They're really varied from workforce development to English language learning to high school diplomas, employment. They all had a little topic, and this one a week is what I did one year. I just used it as is.
Yeah, they do make materials that don't need a whole lot of change up, which is awesome for all of us that need all the time that we've got.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the things that I promised during this session also was who read their last newsletter that was released last week in its entirety. Oh, there's some hands not raised. Well, you missed out on a great opportunity. Let's just take a sneak peek at the newsletter. We got our first president's message from our new president, Sheila. And then we got lots of information about the Christmas in July, including a wrap up of what Jerry did the last week. Got a little blurb on today and some relinks to a lot of the great information that has been shared in the past about marketing your program. We got an introduction to our new board members, a little snippet on the IU Health collaboration that is up for grabs, and then lots of information and questions about registration for a conference, sponsorships for a conference, the tech talk for next month, and updating your profile, some great news from Monroe County's adult ed program. And I'm sure Rob can give us a little bit more information about that. The birthdays for the month, some great things from social, but then at the end was this Christmas movies emoji game. And who saw it? Who did it? All right, well,
tried, but I am terrible at those things. I just
this is it in the full view so that you can see it a little bit better without me having to scroll. And I am happy to report that we did have one person submit it with 8 total points. So they didn't do too bad. And she is on the call. I'll give you one. Oh, she's already celebrating, so I can't even do it. Who wants to guess who it is?
Ryan won. I did one of them. He did 7.
All right, so let's just pick one of these and see if you guys can figure it out. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How about number 7? Let's see if I can zoom that in so you can see it better. So number 7, which is this one right here. What do you think it is?
This requires a lot of brain power.
You are not kidding, because when I tried to do it, I was like, what?
I'm not sure that I got it.
I tried to do it at the end of the day and my brain was already fried. And I
What's 17 plus 17?
34.
34.
A movie that has 34 in it. That's a Christmas movie.
Miracle on 34th Street.
Yeah, go.
And let's see if it's correct. Yes, it's correct. So here's all the answers, just so that you
Yes, that was the one I didn't get.
Arthur Christmas.
that was one of the hardest ones. I wasn't quite sure.
You never heard-
Like I've never heard of the movie. So
Like we're talking drunk Arthur. Like,
oh yes,
Dudley
I
Moore,
bet,
is that his name?
yes, I bet that is.
oh, I love those movies. Him and Liza Minnelli. Oh,
Yes, drunk author. I remember Dudley Moore. He was fabulous in that. And their last half. So congratulations, Sheila. You win with 8 total points. Bravo.
And I didn't win. I did. I think I got the 34th Street because he didn't know that movie. But once he sort of showed me how to do them, but he was just like going really quick. He was, oh, that one's this one, that one's this one, that one's, he was just going like really fast. I said, have you seen this before? And he's like, no, these are fun. And I'm like, oh, it's like reading Greek. I don't know. I said, it's hard.
Well, in case you haven't caught on to the theme yet for Christmas in July, communications usually have something at the end of them that will entice you to win something. And yesterday's blog that went out so that it arrived in your email box this morning was no different. Amanda Russo, Kara Scott, Angela Kellick, Marla Cook, all got it correct. The question was, who said, keep reaching for the stars? And the answer is Casey Health. Oh gosh, I can't say his name correctly. Casey Kasem with the American Top 40. So
That was before my time. I would not have known that.
before your time, what are you talking about?
right,
I'm
right.
joking. I'm joking.
I'm
That's
like
my
going,
story too.
you're not that far behind me.
Just like Bill say that once in a while, and I can't get away with it anymore.
Not whenever you announce a big 50th birthday party. No.
My 53rd, so it's
Yeah.
okay.
Well, does anybody have any stories that they would like to share on advocacy, or whenever it comes to the blog and releasing the how to tell a story? Any more information that you would like, or some advice on from your fellow members on? Maybe you have a story that you'd like to share that you would like to tweak and you need someone else's viewing of it. Teresa, was that a wave or just a tuck of hair? Tuck of hair, okay. I watch out for those things. Such a quiet group this morning. I'll open it up to anything. You don't have to have, doesn't have to be related to advocacy. It can be a conference question, whatever you have, whatever you got, lay it on us. You have past president, advocacy chair, and president-elect on here. So if they can't answer the question, maybe I can, but Let's hear them. Come on. Who's got the hardest question?
I don't have a hard one, but is the conference this year going to be a half day on Wednesday? And then full day Thursday and Friday?
It will start at 11 a.m. Registration opens at 10 on Wednesday. We start with a lunch with the vendors, and then the first keynote, which is Dr. Lori, and I always butcher her name, DeSaltis. Dr. Lori. And then we have 2 sessions in the afternoon on Wednesday that are the little longer sessions. And then Thursday, we pick up bright and early at 9 a.m. with sessions, and then a keynote in the afternoon or in the lunch hour, 3 more sessions Thursday evening or Thursday afternoon. And then Friday, hopefully another keynote in the morning. We're still haven't booked that person, waiting on some funding. And then an award ceremony is Friday. And
Okay, so those of us from down south need to plan on spending the night Tuesday night.
it would be advisable, yes, because
Okay,
I
that's
know,
what I was, yeah. Good.
I know me, it takes me about almost 6 hours, like 5 hours and 45 minutes. I went through Bloomington to pick up Sheila the last time that I went up there. So that time it took us closer to 6 hours. We did have to stop, but
Yeah,
So the conference is on Central Time, isn't it, Jen?
yes, the conference is on Central Time.
So if you
There-
start on Eastern, it saves you an hour.
Yeah. Now going home might be a little different, but
yeah.
it'll be the first year and I don't know when. And it's really sad that it's farther away, but it's actually on my time this year. This year, every year it's like an hour and a half down the road for French Lick, but that's Eastern.
Yeah.
The great state of Indiana, liking to mix it up.
Hey, Jen, on the website, because I was looking at the website, because we're having our staff do their plans next coming week. There is a virtual option this year, isn't there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I don't think I saw that on the website. Maybe I just missed it. I was putting in numbers in the budget.
The virtual option, when you click on the attendee registration, you can see all the different lists here. Let me make sure it's there. It is not on this list.
And that's
But
the one
is
that's the one I was looking at yesterday.
Yeah, but right here.
Oh, it's clear down
virtual.
there.
Yeah, so, but I should put it up here. So I will fix that now so that it's not confusing in the future. I don't
Yeah, and
know
the
how I
top-
left that out. I do need to take that off as well, so. Yeah, so just the virtual only ticket. It is the same as, it is $199 simply because of the technology that is required in order to pull it off.
Oh, no,
Yeah, we've had
yeah,
some
we
meetings.
save on the hotel and transportation costs with our people who want to do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's fine.
yeah.
I don't
And
think it's a bad thing to have the full price for virtual.
Well, we needed it in order to pay for the technology that's gonna
Oh,
be
yeah.
required. It's pretty crazy. I mean, it is, but it isn't, we're kind of used to the whole technology and what it entails, but yet whenever it comes to doing that hybrid event, it's like, oh, wow. Oh, wow. I didn't think about that. Ooh, I didn't think about that. So, but we have a lot of great minds involved in the planning. So we think we're going to be able to pull it off.
Yeah, we do our teacher training, our 2 teacher trainings a year. We do them all hybrid now. So I get you.
Well, it's like the presenter is the ones that I feel like are going to need the most training. And I'd love you guys' thoughts on that. Simply because, whenever it comes to setting up their, computer and all that, of course, we can put a facilitator in the room that we've trained, extensively and have them do that. But just the presentation as far as being able to make sure that your online audience is aware, but yet you're, talking to everyone in the room as well. There's certainly going to be a
We're actually
learning curve
having,
for some.
we're having real luck using Zoom with a computer as the co-host facing our presenters for that. And then we have another person driving the Zoom meeting that switches back and forth between presenter view and slides being shown or websites being shown. So you really want at least two people. You at least want the presenter with a designated Zoom driver.
Yeah, for all the hybrid sessions, we will definitely have we have to have one full facilitator in there for the whole time, but if we could get enough volunteers, I'd really rather have two, just so that they have that extra help that they need.
Yeah, because the facilitator's pretty busy at the beginning and at the end both. And that's really when the person doing the Zoom needs to, are you guys using Zoom?
Probably. Neil is researching some other options. Obviously, it's going to be on our connectable platform. And he has some new partnerships that he's working on that we may not have to use Zoom in its entirely. But we may only be able to use his partner for the bigger things like the keynotes. So we're still working out all the details to make sure. The proposal committee has been working hard on placing those for presentations, and we got to get them in the rooms depending on now that the technology of now we know where the technology is going to be as far as, which rooms are best for the hybrid and that sort of thing. So
if you use Zoom, does IAACE have enough Zoom licenses for as many meetings as you're going to need?
For the Virtual Institute, Pro Literacy loaned us the accounts, and they have agreed to allow us to hold on to those until after our conference. So currently we have, gosh, how many sessions did we have? Eight? Yeah, we had 8. So we have eight
Okay.
access to 8 Zoom accounts currently.
I may have a few extra and there seats on mine because I've got a 20-seat educational account. And there may be some of the rest of us around the state who might have a couple extras if you need a few more.
Okay. I think whenever it comes to borrowing technology, we have started those asks. Whenever it comes to the technology at Blue Chip versus the technology at French Lick, quite different, honestly. I would have thought Blue Chip being closer up to Chicago that they might have been a little bit more prepared for all of this stuff, but French Lick probably has them on technology that they have in-house. Kind of crazy, but whenever it comes to laptops, we're going to be borrowing them from Vincent's University. We have, she's committed to let us borrow 11 laptops so that we have the ability to have a laptop in every room, that it was already set up, and all the connections and everything that's needed, and all the presenter will have to do will be pop in the jump drive and put their presentation on it. Of course, I will also encourage them to have a backup on some type of cloud that they can access by logging into something on the computer. And if there's any other ideas, of course, I'd love to hear those too.
Jen, I have a question
I
about.
have an answer.
Oh, wonderful. Look at that. On your sponsors, let's see, which one was it? Oh, okay. So lunch with the vendors, grand opening event, inclusion in grand opening of exhibits. What exactly does that entail?
The thought process there is that the ones that participate in there, of course, get a lunch ticket, but also they get a table marked however they want. So it can be as simple as a logo in the middle, or if they wanted to deck it out with materials and everything, they could then invite people to sit at the table with them, if they wanted to actually invite people, or we can send out we will send out basically invitations for everyone of these are the vendors that we have participating in this. And if you want to seat at one of their tables, then you can, choose a seat at one of their tables. Of course, we'll make announcements at the actual event as well. So it's you could either utilize it for, like that customer appreciation thing, or you could utilize it for potential new customers.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I love conference questions. Who else has got one? Come on, lay them on me. Teresa, you've been so quiet. And I'm not sure if this is one of your first times on one of the Zoom chats. So do you want to introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are?
My name's Teresa Fife. I work for Region 9. I'm an assistant career coach in adult ed for River Valley Resources. And I'm fairly new. I came on board in November, so this is all new to me. And I'm still in the sponge stage, taking it all in.
Do we ever get off the sponge stage? I'm just
No.
I'm not sure we do. Rob, you're seasoned. Are you still a sponge?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think that whenever it comes to this field, you're always learning and growing. You're always basically reaching for the stars on how you can do things better. So therefore, I think we're all always sponging it in and soaking it in whenever we're talking to mentors and networking across the state. That's one great thing about IAACE. Let's see. Jerry, would you like to unmute and tell everybody who you are? Ooh, he's even gonna come on camera. Yay.
Sure. I'm Jerry Zarnicki. I'm the enrollment and career coach for Neighbors Educational Opportunities out of Portage, Indiana. And I'm very new. July 6th was my first day.
Wow. Well,
I don't
welcome.
even, I don't even know if I have my sponge yet. So.
Well, we give those out for free. All right, everybody, hand him a sponge.
So yeah, so I'm excited. Sorry I was late. I had it in as 10:30 and we're on Central Time, not Eastern Time. So I'll be on time from now on.
I always try to put that / Central Time. In the past, there's been some individuals that are like, why do you put Central Time on there? And I'm like, because I'm Central Time. I need it. And there is that other part of the state up in the corner that is Central Time as well. So.
Well, Jerry, you have a great director. Adrienne is a sweet gal. I really like her.
Yeah, I've had a lot of fun getting to know her and to get to understand the program that she's working with. They're doing a lot of great things. So
yeah.
I'm a 25 plus year public educator out of the state of Michigan. I haven't officially relocated to Indiana yet. We just got a realtor yesterday to start looking because they put my face on the website. So I guess I'm in. That's what I figure. So. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, this is the adult ed side, and the career side is new to me. I mean, I have an education background, but it's a little bit different, and I'm excited to learn.
Good for you. I can't wait to see you at the conference. You
Yeah.
don't have very far to go.
No, that's good.
Kind of your backyard.
Yep.
You could get a house that's relatively close to Blue Chip, and then we can have a party at Jerry's.
We could. There we go.
After
So
party.
I will let you know. I might have to run that by my wife first. But.
We do have one after
Actually-
party planned. Yes.
Actually, maybe what we could do is if
Yes.
we get the house, we just won't put the furniture in yet. We could just have it be a blank slate to start with.
Yeah,
So,
There you go.
You can
There
crash
you
on the
go.
floor. That's not a problem.
or
That's
what I
right.
could do is have the moving van backed up to the house. So when everybody comes over, just grab something and bring it in.
Well, there's that.
Man,
now you're making some connections.
Your wife would probably love that.
She probably would.
What? You brought the entire IAACE organization to help us move?
Yep.
What a group
And they
you
were.
are.
Heather, you're connected.
I'm connected. Yep. Didn't take
That's
long.
right.
And then
Well,
Teresa, you,
bravo
Teresa,
to the new members that are joining us for these things bright and early.
Yes.
I love it.
and
Rob?
Teresa, your program director is Alfonso?
No, it's Connie McCollum.
Oh, Connie. Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
I'm in Region 9
Oh, okay.
out of
I was thinking-
Madison.
I was thinking the other. I thought you said
I
it was
might,
the
I
other
might,
one.
I might be seeing you in a couple of weeks, Teresa. I told Connie I'd be coming down there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know who American Bandstand is, Laura.
I do.
Don't even try to be playing there.
I just wanted to be able to say it. I mean, you know.
My mom made me watch it, so I know who it is.
It freaks me out that I can say 30 years ago and I know what the hell I'm talking about.
Right? I know. I'm thinking, wow. It's crazy. But we look amazing for our age. So, you know,
Yes,
our young
ma'am.
age.
Yes, ma'am.
Mandy, you're always rocking it anyway. So you have nothing to worry about.
You're too kind.
Oh, I just call it like it is.
Here's a little tidbit of information.
I'm gonna
for
ask you to move in with me. I need that on a daily.
All right, Rob, take it away. Tidbit.
Let's give just a little tidbit of information on laws and things, not to detract from that, but just to leave you with something parting that may be useful to some people. Did you know that Indiana, as of July 1st, many of us are working with underage youth, out of school youth, 16, 17, 18-year-olds. Well, in Indiana, as of July 1st, work permits are no longer required for youth workers.
Oh,
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yes, I didn't know that either for sure. I mean, people in Bloomington have been talking about it on Facebook, but I thought, okay, that's just gossip stuff they don't talk about. But no, it is true. July 1st, the legislature
Oh,
did away with work permits. So if you have underage youth and you don't need to talk about work permits anymore, basically what happens is the employer registers the youthful worker on a portal for the Department of Labor. And so that's how they know if, you know, which underage kid is working with working for what employer, but the schools are out of it now. So if you you don't have to advise them to get work permits anymore.
That's good to
Huh.
know.
That is good
Yeah.
information. Well, to keep us all on time, I do believe that we've given you all the gifts that we promised. The gift of advocacy information from Rob. Let's hear it.
Yay.
And then we did have the results of the emoji Christmas game, which went to Miss Sheila Butler. And then we had 5 winners from the blog this morning that announced today, as well as a little more information. And that was Amanda Ressa, Carol Scott, Angela Kelly, Marla Cook, and Mandy. You're the only one that got it wrong. But I'll still give you a prize. What the heck? It's Christmas in July.
Hey, I thought Teddy Roosevelt said it. I'm sorry. I went deep.
And
went
maybe
deep.
he did. Maybe
He
he
did.
did.
He did. He said something about keeping your feet on the ground and reach for the stars.
Yeah. Hey, well, Jen Wigington said it too. So therefore, it counts. Well, just a little plug for next week. On Wednesday, we are going to have a networking information sharing session about how to retain your students. Ideas, directors from all across the state. We invite you to join us on Wednesday at, I want to make sure I get the time right, 1 o'clock Eastern, 12 o'clock Central. It's a retaining gift. So retaining your students, how do you do it? What are your best practices? It's all about sharing that information and brainstorming. So you can join us next Wednesday at 1 Eastern, 12. And that information, of course, is on the calendar of events as well. And then next Thursday, the last Zoom chat of July, Mr. Steve Hafner, our keynote from conference, is going to give you a little sneak peek of what his presentation is all about. And just note, he's a mentalist. So it's going to be inspiring, I'm sure. So that's a little sneak peek for next week. And I thank you each for joining us. And I'm going to officially stop the recording if there's no other questions.